Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The date is 16th Muharram 1448 on the Islamic calendar, corresponding to 2nd July 2026 on the Gregorian calendar. And you are watching Muslim World News with me, your host, Abdulrahman Mohamed. Let's dive in head first and take a look at today's headlines. On our first story right here in Kenya, families demand abduction answers. Heritage sites devastated in Lebanon. And on business news, court rejects coffee miller's debt claim. And finally, on the sports world, World Cup round of 32 fixtures underway. Now on to our first story right here at home. Families across Nairobi are escalating their pressure on the government, issuing a 24 hours ultimatum for answers after a series of alarming abductions linked to the recent anti-government protest. The crisis intensified following the June 25th commemoration demonstration, where activists and human rights defenders alleged they were seized by police officers and subsequently transferred to unidentified armed men. Victims claimed they were subjected to brutal torture before being abandoned in various parts of the city. Tensions boiled over on Saturday, June 29, 2026, as distraught families from the Mathare community gathered to demand immediate transparency. This follows a worrying trend of similar disappearances across the country, where victims are often taken by masked individuals using unmarked double-cabin vehicles while the government faces mounting scrutiny. The harrowing ordeals endured by these victims, ranging from psychological trauma to severe physical abuse, have drawn sharp criticism from civil society organizations. Families are now calling for a full investigation into the security apparatus to ensure that such extrajudicial actions are brought to an immediate halt. Highlighting the collective fear and desperation felt by those families whose members remain missing, one family representative stated during the Mathare protest, "We are not asking for favors. We are demanding the return of our people. The silence from the authorities is deafening, and we will not rest until we have answers about where our loved ones are being held." As the 24 ultimatum lapses, the question remains whether the government will provide the accountability these families are desperately seeking, or if the pattern of disappearances will continue to haunt the capital. Our next story is one of huge impact to all our Muslim lives in Kenya. The Kenyan government is moving to formally integrate traditional Duksi and Madrasa institutions into the national education curriculum. A move hailed as a historic milestone for inclusive learning. President William Ruto issued the directive during Madaraka Day celebrations on June 1st, 2026, instructing the Ministry of Education to engage stakeholders on incorporating these alternative pathways into basic education framework. This reform targets thousands of children in underserved regions who have traditionally been excluded from the formal system. The initiative has received significant financial backing, with the National Treasury allocating funds in the latest budget to support the transition. Officials emphasize that the framework will focus on enhancing access to quality education while fully respecting the religious and cultural values cherished by families in these communities. Religious leaders, including those from coast and the northern regions, have welcomed the plan, noting that it will elevate the status of their institutions and ensure Islamic studies are formally recognized alongside other learning programs under the competency-based curriculum. Meanwhile, the government is beginning a period of wide-ranging public and stakeholder consultations to finalize the implementation policy. Expressing the community's enthusiasm for the government's commitment to this recognition, Sheikh Abu Qatada noted, "We are very pleased as religious leaders that our president has recognized this form of education and wants it to be accepted as an inclusive and legitimate system of learning for our children." As the Ministry of Education begins its consultations, This reform promises a new chapter for thousands of learners across Kenya. Our next story takes us onto the northeastern, where the government has upgraded the Raya electricity substation in Garissa, a move expected to provide a steadier power supply to homes and businesses. The expansion is set to reduce power outages and improve electricity distribution as demand continues to grow across the country. According to Energy Principal Secretary Alex Wachira, the expanded substation will strengthen Garissa's electricity network and provide enough capacity to meet the county's increasing power needs. Speaking during an inspection of the project, Energy Principal Secretary Alex Wachira said, "Garissa will no longer face constrained demand. We expect electricity consumption to grow rapidly, but the new transformer has enough capacity to support that growth." Garissa's power infrastructure had struggled to keep up with the county's growing electricity demands, causing frequent outages and unstable voltage. To address the problem, a new 23 MVA transformer has been installed and will operate together with one of the existing 7.5 MVA transformer, increasing the substation's total available capacity to 30.5 MVA. The upgrade is expected to improve electricity reliability, accommodate more consumers, and support future economic and infrastructure development. Now, on our next story, the Teachers Service Commission is urging school principals to release teachers who are not fully utilized so they can be reassigned to schools facing staff shortages. The move is part of ongoing education reforms aimed at improving access to quality education across the country. TSC Chief Executive Officer Evelyn Mitei says the planned staff changes will ensure teachers are distributed more fairly to meet learners' needs. During a meeting with senior school lead heads in Mombasa, TSC Chief Executive Officer said there are schools that still have excess teachers within their institutions, while your neighbors have no teachers. This is an area we are calling upon you to help us so that we can be able to have teachers optimally utilized. The Commission is reviewing a new staffing framework that aligns with the competency-based education curriculum. Once implemented, it is expected to improve teacher distribution, reduce staffing imbalances, and strengthen learners' outcomes, particularly in underserved areas. Now, on our next story, Burkina Faso has ended diplomatic relations with France, accusing it of interfering in its internal affairs and undermining national sovereignty. The military-led government said the move reflects rising concerns over foreign influence and a push to strengthen independence. Tensions between Burkina Faso and France have escalated since the 2022 coup that brought Ibrahim Traoré to power. Since then, Burkina Faso has expelled French troops and increased cooperation with countries such as Russia and China. France has rejected the accusation and called the decision unjustified. The development highlights a continued shift in Burkina Faso's foreign policy away from Western partnership and towards alternative alliances. Now, our next story takes us onto the Middle East, where Lebanese authorities have sounded the alarm over the systematic destruction of revered cultural and historical landmarks across southern Lebanon, following nearly 4 months of intense air and ground campaigns. As of June 30th, 2026, the full scale of the devastation remains difficult to assess as Israeli troops continue to occupy a buffer zone approximately 10 kilometers deep into Lebanese territory. Lebanese Culture Minister Ghassan Salem stated that officials are currently unable to conduct comprehensive surveys in these restricted areas, noting, "We cannot walk under the shadow of occupation." The damage spans millennia of history, affecting UNESCO World Heritage Sites, Roman ruins, Crusader fortresses, and Mamluka-era markets. In the ancient city of Tyre, an airstrike decapitated a crown from a Roman column and shattered mosaics, while protective barriers installed to shield the ruins were blown into the sites by blast impacts. Other reported losses include the destruction of pilgrim sites in the Mamluk-era markets in Nabitech and medieval structures such as Beaufort Castle, while Israel maintains that its military operations are guided by military necessity and include a rigorous approval process to avoid excessive damage to civilian infrastructure. Lebanese authorities have described the campaign as a systematic erasure of villages, towns, and centuries of cultural identity. UNESCO has expressed deep alarm over the reported damages, and Lebanon has formally requested that the city of Tyre be classified as a World Heritage Site in danger to trigger enhanced international protection. Reflecting on the scene at the damaged UNESCO-listed Al-Bas archaeological site in Tyre, Adnan Istanbuli of Lebanon's Antiquities Department said, "Look at the damages that happened to it. It's as if all exploded from underneath, as if an earthquake hit it." With entire villages reportedly razed by bulldozers and historic landmarks reduced to rubble, experts warn that the destruction of Lebanon's collective memory may be irreversible. From stories of real human lives and faces, let's take a look at numbers and statistics of business news. Now, on our first story, county government opened 199 additional unauthorized commercial bank accounts between January and March 2026, raising the total number of irregular accounts to 6,585, despite legal requirements governing the management of public funds. The latest findings have renewed concerns over transparency and accountability in county finances. Under the Public Finance Management Act, counties are required to hold their main account at the Central Bank of Kenya, with only a limited number of special purposes commercial bank accounts allowed after receiving the necessary approvals. Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango said county governments had failed to submit authorization documents for the thousands of commercial bank accounts, making it difficult to verify the legality and purpose. The lack of documentation has raised concerns over oversight and the proper use of public funds. The findings come as the National Treasury prepares to roll out the Treasury's single account system to county governments from July. The reforms are intended to strengthen financial oversight, improve cash management, and reduce idle public fund held in multiple commercial bank accounts. Financial experts say the growing number of unauthorized accounts weaken accountability and complicates efforts to monitor county spending, increasing the risk of misusing public resources. Now, on our next business story, county governments across Kenya have reported 237 stalled development projects worth about 13.66 billion shillings, raising fresh concerns over planning, funding, and project implementation. According to the latest report by the Controller of Budget, 5.11 billion shillings has already been spent on the incomplete projects despite little or no progress. Nairobi and Isiolo counties account for the highest value of stalled projects at 2.9 billion shillings and 1.47 billion shillings respectively. Baringo, Machakos, and Kitui also feature among the counties with significant unfinished projects. The report attributes the delays to inadequate budget allocation, unresolved contract variations, contract abandonment, terminated contracts, missing project files, and ongoing investigations. These challenges have slowed the delivery of essential services such as rounds, water systems, and health facilities. The findings have renewed concerns over county planning and financial management, with experts questioning whether development units commit to projects without securing adequate fundings or resolving contractual issues. The National Treasury is expected to strengthen oversight through ongoing public finance reforms as counties face increasing pressure to improve project completion rates and accountability in the use of public resource. Now, on to a final business story. The High Court has dismissed a 32.6 million shillings claim by Thika Coffee Mills against Buchana Coffee Growers Cooperative Society, ruling that the company's lending arrangement unfairly trapped farmers in a cycle of debt. The dispute stemmed from a 2014 agreement under which the coffee millers acted as the cooperative's lenders, millers, and marketing agents. The company advanced loans to the society and recovered the money through deductions from coffee sales. The court found that Thika Coffee Mills had already recovered substantially more than the amount it had advanced and could not continue demanding additional payment. The judge described the lending model as harsh, unconscionable, and oppressive to farmers. Although the cooperative has already filed a counterclaim seeking compensation, the court dismissed it after finding there was insufficient evidence to support the alleged losses. The ruling is expected to influence future financing arrangements in Kenya's coffee sector by reinforcing the need for fair lending practices that protect farmers from excessive debt burdens. From numbers and statistics of business news, now let's take a look at sports news. We're on our first story. Talanta Sports City expands training facilities. Construction of the 2 additional training pitches has begun at Talanta Sports City, boosting Kenya's preparations to co-host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. The new facilities will complement a 3rd training pitch that is nearing completion. Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya said the new pitches are expected to be completed within 2 months. Besides football, the facilities will also support rugby and athletics training. Complete with tartan tracks and modern support infrastructure, the government says the project is part of broader efforts to deliver world-class sports infrastructure ahead of AFCON 2027. Work at the main Talanta Sports City Stadium has also advanced significantly, with the remaining activities focusing on electrical installations, grass nurturing, and final finishing works. Officials have also confirmed the supporting infrastructure, including a 1 million litre water tank, perimeter walls, and access roads, is being developed to ensure the complex meets international standards before the tournament. The expanded training facilities are expected to strengthen Kenya's readiness to host one of Africa's biggest football competitions while leaving a lasting legacy for local sports development. Now on to our next story. The knockout stage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup is underway after the conclusion of the group stage, with 32 teams advancing to the first ever round of 32 under FIFA's expanded tournament format. The matches will be played from June 28th to July 3rd across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Several blockbuster fixtures headline the knockout round, including Brazil against Japan, Germany facing Paraguay, the Netherlands taking on Morocco, and Argentina meeting tournament surprise package Cape Verde. On other notable ties, including England against DR Congo, Portugal versus Croatia, Spain against Austria, and Belgium against Senegal. Co-hosts Canada, the United States, and Mexico all progressed to the knockout stage, while several African nations also advanced, highlighting the continent's growing strength on the global stage. Cape Verde and DR Congo are among the teams that have attracted attention with historic qualifications campaigns. The winners of the round of 32 fixtures will advance to the round of 16 as the race for football's biggest prize intensifies. Now, still on the World Cup, Cape Verde has become one of the biggest success stories of the 2026 FIFA World Cup after making history as the smallest nation by population to qualify for the knockout stage. With just over 500,000 people, the island nation has stunned football fans by reaching the round of 32, a remarkable achievement that has captured global attention. The Blue Sharks secured qualifications from Group H through disciplined performances, strong teamwork, and tactical organization against more experienced opponents. Their success has sparked celebrations across Cape Verde and among the country's diaspora, with many describing the achievement as the greatest moment in the nation's sporting history. Cape Verde, located off Africa's west coast, has steadily developed its football program over the years. The emergence of players in top European leagues, combined with investment in youth development, has helped transform the nation's team into a competitive force. The team now faces tournament favorites Argentina in the round of 32. Regardless of the result, Cape Verde has already made history and inspired smaller football nations around the world by proving that determination, planning, and belief can overcome limited resources and population size of football's biggest stage. Still on sports news, let's take a look at motorsports. Mercedes driver George Russell has reignited the 2026 Formula One World Championship battle by securing a brilliant victory at the Austrian Grand Prix on Sunday, June 28, 2026. Starting from pole position, the British driver masterfully managed to grueling 71 race laps at the Red Bull Ring, ultimately holding off a hand-charging Max Verstappen and a late surge from his own teammate, championship leader Kimi Antonelli. This crucial win marks Russell's second victory of the 2026 season and his seventh career victory, allowing him to successfully narrow the gap in the Drivers' Championship to just 40 points of the top sport. The intense pressure at the front of the pack kept fans on the edge of their seats, with the top three drivers crossing the finish line separated by less than 2 seconds after nearly 2 hours of high-speed racing in the Styrian Hills, reflecting on his return to the top step of the podium after a difficult stretch. An elated George Russell told reporters after the race, "It's incredible to be back on the top step. It's been a little while, so I'm definitely going to enjoy this one this evening. A lot of hard work from my team to get us back on the track." With the gap of the top of the leaderboard significantly reduced, the title fighting is heating up dramatically as the paddock heads towards the next rounds of the season. Dear viewers, and before we wrap up, here's something incredible about the world of animals, something that sounds almost impossible. Did you know some turtles can breathe through their skin? Certain species, especially those that spend long periods underwater, can absorb oxygen through special areas of their body, allowing them to survive in environments where normal breathing is difficult. This ability, known as cutaneous respiration, helps some turtles stay underwater for extended periods, especially during cold seasons. When their bodies slow down and they need less oxygen, they have adapted over millions of years, developing unique ways to survive that most animals could never do. It's a perfect example of how nature finds creative solutions for survival. So the next time you think you know how animals survive, remember, nature still has a few surprises hidden beneath the surface. If you didn't know, dear viewers, now you know. That brings us to the end of today's program of Muslim World News. I've been your host, Abdulrahman Mohamed, and it's been a pleasure having you with us. Stay informed, stay inspired, and may peace.